Hello, hello, I'm Tracy Pierce. Thanks for joining me for this Live with the Animals video series. So this video series was really born out of what was happening here in the United States, March of 2020. Things, the coronavirus really starting to hit then, various businesses, communities going into lockdown. And, I just became really curious about what the animals thought about this whole lockdown coronavirus situation. And my animal friends really encouraged me to set up an interview series, essentially. And we talked to a bunch of different animals, domestic and wild, since March. And now here we are in August, and my animal friends are still encouraging me to keep doing these sessions. I'm having a lot of animals show up saying they want to share their wisdom here with the world. So that's my intent of doing this video series, is just giving the voice to the animals who want to share things with us. So today we have an interesting interviewee. Actually, there's two of them. Let me pull up their picture. We're going to talk with these chickens. So I'll tell you how I came upon these chickens, why I'm choosing them. So I live out in the country, and my husband and I were going for a walk, or maybe it started when I was walking by myself. There were many walks involved in this. So I was walking out along this dirt road, and I see these chickens, and I mean, they're obviously those fancy kind of chickens, and they appear to be domestic. And so I grabbed a picture of them and I posted it up on Nextdoor. There's a lot of farms and stuff around the area where I live, but I haven't lived here very long, so I don't know very many people. And so there was no response on Nextdoor. I eventually, a couple days went by, and I eventually called the animal control, and they said they were going to send somebody to pick them up, but I don't know if something got missed, or the sheriff couldn't see them or whatever, but they didn't get picked up. And so, I kept walking by the area and kept seeing them, and I would tune into them, and they very much felt lost, and they were asking me to help them get shelter and find them. But where I live, I don't have the resources or the space to actually take the chickens in myself. So I talked to one of the neighbors I do know, and she's someone who's lived in the area for like 20 or 25 years. And so she helped spread the word to all the neighbors that these chickens were out and about, and let them know where they were. And then a couple days later, I didn't see the chickens there anymore. So I really am curious what happened to these chickens. Where we live, it's possible coyotes could have gotten them. Or something else could have happened. So I just want to tune in and see what happened with these chickens. So if you're joining me live on Zoom and you have questions for these chickens, there should be a button on the bottom of your Zoom that says chat. So just click on that and then type in your questions. And if you're joining me on Facebook, just type your questions into the comment section. Okay, so I'm just going to get quiet and start tuning into these chickens and see what they would like to share with us today. So I feel the female, the black and white one, coming forward first. Yeah, and she's showing me herself out of her body. Can you tell me what happened, or? It does seem like some kind of coyote or dog kind of animal got to this black and white one. What do you want to tell us about you or your situation? What happened, little chicken? So she's showing me just this like confusion of wandering away from where they were, and she's showing me flying too, like not any far distance, but it's almost like they were able to fly over something. Can you show me that again? Is it flying over? There's a lot of confusion with this chicken. I feel a lot of kind of grayness and haziness. There's something about the confusion that it's like it fueled her leaving wherever they were in their home. What else do you want to tell me about this situation? So she's showing herself as an older bird as well. I don't know why I'm getting this sense, but it's almost like a fungus kind of feeling. I wonder, it makes me wonder if maybe she ate some feed or something that had some kind of mold or fungus, and that could be affecting the confusion part for her. Yeah, what I keep seeing is like a piece of corn with like a fungus or a mold on it. Is that what you ate? Yeah, there's something weird about the food where she was living. This is almost the sense of wandering off in an old age kind of way. Like I've seen this a lot with domestic animals where like cats and dogs, when they get to the end of their life and they will just run off to die by themselves. Is that what happened here? There is some sense of her knowing she was at the end of her life. Okay. She's showing like being eaten by a coyote is kind of a more humane or a faster death rather than it's like I can feel this fungus in her brain. It's almost like a slow eating away of her brain, and there's some kind of innate knowledge or something that dying of that would somehow be worse than being eaten by a coyote. Okay. So when I saw you, um, it felt like you were asking, me to help you find a shelter or get somebody to help take care of you. Um, do you know what happened to your rooster friend there, or should we talk to him? Yeah, there's this the female chicken is saying there's some level of um, like she really feels this thing in human culture of when animals get older, they're not valuable anymore. And she says, well, it's not 100% just a human thing. It can also be that way in the natural animal kingdom as well. There is this whole survival of the fittest that applies more in our natural world than in the human world. Yeah, she says like looking, it's almost so the way she's looking at it, she's showing me looking down on her old physical self. She's saying her soul, if you want to call it that, is still like in the spirit world. And there's some realization of, show me that again. Some realization of what? It has to do with the age thing. Yeah, her, she's saying she was aware that her time was coming. I'm not the kind of chicken that they would have eaten. I was too old, first of all. I was more for laying eggs. And oh, she's saying like her egg production had stopped. And she actually feels quite happy with the way her death happened, that it was quick by this coyote. And she actually prefers that to what would have happened. She feels like had she stayed. So with this issue with the corn, do you feel like the mold and the fungus, is this something that was fed to the whole flock there? Are you concerned about the chickens where you came from? She says, well, I'm not concerned about them anymore. Certainly when I was alive, there is something concerning about what was happening. And yeah, sort of like this, I hear the word illness, like this low level disease or illness that was kind of spreading throughout these chickens. So the chicken's also saying, like, she's looking down and like looking at the hen house now and seeing that they're feeding different corn now or grain or whatever it is that they feed chickens. It looks different to her now than this particular batch or amount that they were feeding before. So hopefully it was just a small amount, she says, that the other chickens got. Okay. Should we talk to your rooster friend? Or is there anything else that you want to tell us? Okay. She said, go ahead and talk to my rooster friend. Okay. So I'm just checking for any questions or comments. Oh, Mike says, thank you for sharing your gifts. Do you see with all that is, or just animals? I guess I'm not 100% sure about your question, Mike, but I feel like my personal gift is more with communicating with animals. Like I can see things about other humans, but it's not quite the same. Or plants, like there's an affinity, I guess, with animals for me. Okay, so I'm bringing my awareness to, oh wait. So we got another question popping up here. Does the chicken want to share with us or give any advice? Little female check-in, any advice you want to share with us before we talk to your rooster friend? Well, she's saying, well, learn from me, be aware of what you're putting in your body, that what we eat is very important, and saying pay attention to these recalls that are happening around the world right now. You know, I think there's like an onion recall and maybe a beef recall as well. She's saying that tainted food is really can spread a lot of disease, and so she shows it activating like this lower level of disease in a human that could like escalate and become something bigger. It's like this adding things on top of each other, where it just becomes that straw that breaks the camel's back kind of thing. Yeah, she says, no, let's talk to the rooster now. Okay, it's kind of fun when animals tell us what to do. All right, so rooster, are you still living, or did the coyote get you as well? So the roosters, it feels like the rooster is still alive to me. And what he's showing is, so this area where these two chickens were kind of hanging out was by a lake, and there's some brush and kind of shelter area. And the rooster is showing that he was kind of more in this sheltered like underbrush area, and the female chicken was out. And it's kind of like the coyote just ran by and grabbed the female chicken and just kept going. And he's showing this just like, oh wow, like, oh, that just happened so fast. But the coyote wasn't looking for more food. It was like, oh, I see this one, and grabbed it. He's saying that the female, because of the white that she has on her in her feathers, that it makes her much more visible to coyotes. It's one of the reasons that like these fancy chickens or domestic chickens, you know, there's a lot of just white chickens, but they're particularly, the rooster is saying that the color white is particularly susceptible to predators. It's very easy for them to see. Okay, so where are you? Do you want to tell us where you are right now, rooster? So he's showing me kind of my little neighborhood. There's these multiple kind of, I don't know if you call it a farm or a ranch, but properties with property, like properties with some acreage that kind of meet together. And he's actually showing that we're kind of close to each other. It's maybe like 1 or 2 properties over where he is. I'm fairly certain there's multiple places over there that have chickens, I think. Okay, so how did that work? Like, did they integrate you in with the other chickens? Like, are you getting, I don't understand if you get along with other roosters, or how does that go? So he's showing there's a separation of him from the other roosters. Um, yeah, he's showing there is this thing between roosters, at least his view. He says not all roosters are like this, but he says more. Some are more amped up. It's like some are more turned up to 11. Is what I hear him saying, in how they're aggressive towards other males. And he kind of fits in that category where he says I don't really tolerate other males, and so they've put me in a separate kind of section. Okay, are there females hens in there with you then? So sometimes it seems like they might be kind of rotating um, the hens in and out there. Okay. So I wonder, like, do you miss your female hen that you were with there? Do you miss her, or? We had been together for a while, so there is. It's not like we were soulmates or anything, is what this rooster is saying. We were more like friends. We were more like old friends from back in high school, kind of thing. Like he's showing me like an elderly, like human in their 80s or older, like looking back and seeing, like looking back at high school. So it seems like they had been together for a significant amount of time. There's a certain amount of respect that he has for her death. Like he does appreciate the fact that her death was quite quick. Okay. And we do have a comment that one person says, I know this is nature, but somehow feel sad for this chicken. Yeah. And we have another question for you, Rooster. Um, Rooster, do you enjoy being out in the wild? Huh. Says, well, it definitely feels safer being in a contained kind of space. Um, there's more fear. It says like when we were out in the wild, like we definitely wanted a shelter, and it keeps showing this underbrush area where they were kind of roosting. Like we kind of need a containment system to help us feel safe. And being out in the wild like that, like there was something that felt kind of liberating about it, but it also was scary. And especially when I saw her, the female getting taken, it's like, oh wow, like this is serious business. And there's almost sort of a naivety about he's saying like about being a chicken, being a domestic animal, to always have humans taking care of us. Like we become shows kind of like a tunnel vision or wearing blinders where we can only see this much about our lives after being in domestic enclosures. And it definitely feels safer for me personally to not be out in the wild anymore. So checking again for any other comments or questions for our rooster friend. So Rooster, I wonder, the female said something about the fungus or the mold on the corn. Do you feel like that's something that affected you too? Yes, there was something that was affecting me about it, and he's saying that that's actually kind of part of what drew them away. Was like, oh wow, I'm eating this corn and I'm not feeling so well. There was like sort of looking for insects or other kind of food away from the corn. And he said I was affected by it, but there's a sense that it may have affected him less than the female. Um, and he felt like it kind of reversed fairly quickly for him, whereas for the female, there was a bit more lasting confusion. Okay. Right. So my little rooster friend, we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. So if you have any last questions or comments for our chicken friends, be sure to type them in. Rooster, is there anything else that you want to be sure to share with our viewers today? I do feel kind of a thank you towards me from the rooster. He's like, I'm not sure I would have made it back to a shelter without you telling people that I was here. Um, so I do miss this female chicken sometimes, but I actually am happy where I am now. He's saying that he's not quite as old as as the female was, so he may have another year or two left being productive. He's using air quotes, productive in the human world. Is there anything you want to tell us about being lost or anything like that? You know, I know, like for me, I had to. Sometimes I always want to rescue everything, you know, like, and there was part of me, even though I don't have the space or the facilities to have taken care of you guys, like part of me wanted to bring you back. Um, is there anything you want to say about that? Kind of get a blank on that. Um, he says he's happy when humans help animals when they can. Feels like there could be a lot more giving. Could you expand? I feel like there's a bit more there. Saying sometimes, and some humans, and it's very, you know, kind of drawing the line. It's like, I'm not saying this about all humans, but that a lot of humans tend to view livestock animals like this one, or even some wild animals, as a product, in the same way that they might view a plant. And the rooster is saying, hopefully someday humans will understand that plants are living beings too, and they, you know, maybe they don't feel things in the same way that mammals or other kind of animals feel things. But there's kind of this hope that the rooster has that people will start to see and honor the living beingness that is behind all these living things, animals, plants. And yeah, it's really showing this split between humanity, like these people who can view animals and plants on a similar plane or level as themselves, and then people who view those things as being less than. And this rooster has hope that someday it's like the balance can kind of be increased, where more people become aware of how animals and plants like feel things and experience them. All right, thank you, chickens. It's so nice to understand what happened to you guys, and to catch up and know what's happening for you. So thank you so much for joining us here today for this Live with the Animals video series. And if you were really interested by this, there's a ton of videos on my YouTube channel that have more interviews with all different kinds of animals. And I've got at least the next 5 or 6 weeks already scheduled. We've got plenty more animals to talk to. I hope you'll join us again sometime. And until next time, take care and be well.